Hop back on our bench racing hotline, where we are joined by the director of the Nationwide Series, Joe Balash, joins us again. Hey, Joe, how are you?
I'm good. Are you guys broadcasting from the booth that's got my name in it?
It's close by.
No, but there's a chair here that has your name engraved on the bottom of it. So I think we're pretty close to where you've been before. So yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, I wanted to first of all say congratulations. TV ratings were up at Richmond. Glad to hear it.
Yeah. The TV ratings looked really good for the Richmond race, and their ratings have been really good this whole year, and we're pretty pleased with that.
You got to look at, I look at that race and I see, there's not a lot of fans in the stands compared to what the Cup race is. But then you look at a race like Montreal and the place is just absolutely packed. Are you happy? Are you guys, as a NASCAR, as a company, are you happy with the crowds that you get on nationwide races? Obviously, you're happy with the TV ratings because they've shown an increase all year. But tell me about the butts in the seats. Is that something that you guys are happy with? Obviously, you'd love to fill the place. But where you're at, is it a good place?
Well, we're always looking for more ways to bring more people to the racetrack. The best thing that we can do with the Nationwide Series is provide what we think is the best competition going on the racing surface. And I think we've done that all year. And I think that helps the promoters bring people to the nationwide races. We understand that, we're the last rung on the ladder before you get to the Sprint Cup. And there may be some differences with, why people come to the Sunday race versus the Saturday race. But, we'll always continue to work on ways to bring people to the racetrack.
You've got a very good points battle going on. Elliott Sadler leads Ricky Stenhouse Jr. by 1 point. It can't get a whole heck of a lot better than that. But those two guys aside, you look at who's in third, Austin Dillon. You got to be excited about the fact that young guns like that are in cars consistently on a week-to-week basis, are running well. It's the future of the sport again, and I think that's one of the things people look at the Nationwide Series as a developmental series, which is what they really kind of like to look at it as, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We are a developmental series, but we're also proud to say that 6 of the chase contenders this year are nationwide champions and drivers that have spent time in the Nationwide Series honing their skills before they got to the Sprint Cup level. We've got a great crop of young drivers this year that have been racing with us. Everybody from Austin Dillon and Johanna Long, and so we're pleased with the crop. And I think looking into next year with a number of drivers that are very talented in the K&N Series, I think we'll have a great crop of drivers next year as well.
Joe, this is Charlie. Is that the step that leads to the Nationwide Series now? Is it the K&N Series, and is that by design?
Yes, yeah. The K&N cars are basically the cars that used to be the Nationwide cars, and so there's a lot of characteristics of driving a heavier stock car with more horsepower. And it's a great stepping stone from K&N or from the Truck Series, for that matter, into the Nationwide Series.
You talk about Johanna Long, and you look at some of the people who have made that transformation from other series coming up to the Nationwide Series, and again, you've got not only her, but so many people that have done well who are maybe from different walks of racing as well. And the one that comes up, Travis Pastrana.
Pastrana, yeah.
People who have a way of bringing people into the sport, and it really seems like the Nationwide Series is the place for those people to gravitate to, at least on an interim basis before they make that next jump.
Yeah, absolutely. The Nationwide Series has been very lucky to have a number of drivers that, like you mentioned, having Travis Pastrana run with us. Juan Pablo Montoya spent a lot of time in the Nationwide Series before he made the step to the Sprint Cup. But it's a way that the drivers can get on racetracks, that the same tracks on Saturday that they'll be racing on Sunday, get a lot of experience, and it also pairs them up on track with some current Sprint Cup drivers like a Kurt and Kyle Busch or a Carl Edwards from time to time or a Brad Keselowski that allows them to kind of measure their talents with the best of the best.
Of course, we're talking to Joe Balash, director of NASCAR's Nationwide Series. Joe, one of the things Steve and I have talked about I think over the last several shows, it's been kind of a theme that there is this bubbling up of young talent in NASCAR that's trying to break through to obviously the ultimate goal is to get into the Cup Series. And there seems to be like this, I don't want this to sound wrong, and I know you may not be able to comment even on it, but there's a bunch of old guys like me. They're not as old as me, but I mean they're old guys in that Cup Series that just don't seem to be able to get moved out, whether it's for sponsor reasons or whatever reason. And you've got a bunch of really, really talented young guys that are coming up, and that's benefiting, I think, the Nationwide Series in a big way. Do you look at it that way? Is this something that you think you can keep up, or are you just kind of holding these guys until the big breakout year?
Well, I think one of the things that you have is the drivers that make it to the Sprint Cup level are there because they can race at that level. Mm-hmm. And there's no other place in the world that you could really race at with that many drivers. You know, we start 43 drivers on the racetrack and have the type of purses that they race for. So it's something that everybody wants to be a part of for as long as they can. Right. And, you know, there are limited spaces from time to time for younger drivers to move up, but that's not to say that there aren't spaces that are available. And I just want to make sure that as we move drivers up, we don't move them up prematurely. There's been a number of drivers that have made that step too soon, and then have, you know, basically rejoined the Nationwide Series for some more experience. But you know, I think there's enough positions for everybody without having just wholesale change throughout both garages. You can't move those drivers up too soon.
We're talking with Joe Balash from the Nationwide Series, and Joe, I want to change venues here a little bit. Charlie and I talked about the race going to Indy, and a lot of people, you know, felt saddened by the fact that you left ORP to go to the big track. Two-part question. First of all, are you happy with the results of that race? I figure you probably are. And our big contention was we thought it would have been a hell of a lot better race if you would have done the road course.
Well, you know, nationwide races have been pretty exciting on the road courses. So
sure
let me
have.
answer that one first. Especially, you know, venues like Montreal where, you know, you can't make that stuff up that happens up at that racetrack for sure. But, you know, we had a successful race at the big track. You know, maybe as we can work things out, you know, and get back to the smaller track as well. We'll have to wait and see how that all unfolds. But the race was, you know, a pretty cool event at the Brickyard, and for sure a historic one for the Nationwide Series.
Okay, you sidestepped my question a little bit. Did you ever think of running the road course at Indy? Did it ever cross your mind for even a second?
Well, technically, yes, it had crossed my mind, and I had talked about, you know, what would happen if the Nationwide cars ran the road course there. But as far as a real conversation between, you know, us and the promoter there, it was more about the oval.
Okay. And a road racing related question, Joe, with the big announcement last week that the Grand Am Series is merging with the American Le Mans Series, it's going to make going to be a really good thing for road racing in North America, obviously, sports car racing particularly. Does that, and since NASCAR is a big portion of that ownership, does that limit, you think, will that eventually put even more of a limit on road racing for stock cars?
I don't think it does, because we've had very, very successful races with our partners at Grand Am for a number of years, going back to when we were, you know, running races in Mexico City, and you know, we partner with them running races at Watkins Glen and Road America, and so I think that the door is open for continuing to run companion events with Grand Am and with the Nationwide Series.
All right.
You guys had kind of a foot up, if you will, when your new car came out, and it you know, you brought in the Mustang and you brought in the Challenger. These cars had a much better resemblance to the street car. Now in 2013, Cup is going to have their new car as well. Do you think that will affect the ambiance or where of the nationwide series, will that kind of take you down a peg, you think, because no longer are you guys going to be the new kid with the coolest car on the block?
Well, I can tell you, I've seen the Cup cars, and they are really cool race cars. They really are doing what everybody had envisioned with getting back to a more stock look and feel of the race cars. I don't think so, because I think part of what the Nationwide Series is it's a total package. It's not just one element. Yes, there are people there because they think the Mustang was cool. But, next year we'll have Mustangs racing Camaros out on the racetrack. So there's kind of a different element with the cars that we have. I think our driver mix is different. Our experience level is different. And, we have a number of kind of nationwide standalone races where people tune in to see just the Nationwide Series itself. So I don't think it'll detract for it, but I think it will be a positive benefit for the Sprint Cup Series.
We're talking with Joe Balash, and before I let you go, the last thing I wanted to ask you about is something you just talked about. That was standalone events versus companion events. When you guys put your schedule together, how much do you talk about those two things to give yourself not only your individual identity, but also on the same token, trying to make things as easy as it is as possible for guys who are running both series? How much of that conversation is had when schedule time rolls around?
Well, I'm sure with my friends down in Daytona, there's a lot of that takes place. With the Nationwide Series, we need both type of venues. We need the double duty events where we're running the same venue as the Sprint Cup Series, but there is an element where we need to go out and find a balance where we have some standalone races. But at the end of the day, you need both to make the series work.
One last real quick question, Joe. With the change in the championships, the way the championships are done in NASCAR, with drivers only being able to run for one, drivers have to elect whether they're going to run for a nationwide or Cup Series. It seems to me, I haven't looked at numbers, but there are a lot fewer Cup drivers at most events. Is that true, and do you think that's a good thing if it is?
Well, it has, come back down to a more natural level. Yeah. If you look over the history of the Nationwide Series, we've ebbed and flowed with a number of double-duty drivers. This year we have had fewer than in the past couple of years. I think that trend, may, add one or two more based upon really how the drivers sees this whole chase thing work out this year, and look at how they want to put their schedules together. But it has worked out well for us, and it's helping to build the identity of these young new drivers that will be the next generation of stars in the Sprint Cup, so people will know who they are. And, quite frankly, I think it's working really, really well for people like Ricky Stenhouse. Yeah,
we agree, Joe. We're big fans of the Nationwide Series and really appreciate your time when you're able to give us a little bit to join us on the show. So good luck the rest of the year, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Joe Balash, director of the Nationwide Series for NASCAR. And I think I'm a huge